what we hear from them is that their customers out there, they understand and they desire to move into some of this newer technology, but they're limited by the ability. We can't do it because we don't have enough guys right now to keep things going that we have in place, much less, innovate. Is that a
Yeah.
common thread?
Oh, we hear that all the time. And you mentioned before AI, and you mentioned technology, and the adoption of artificial intelligence is going to require us to have a lot of data points. And with those data points, how do we manage those data points? So leaning in, and we need more IoT sensors. The IoT sensors are going to have to send the data to something. We're going to need the software housed on something. So this isn't just one point that we need people to be on top of. It's a whole continuum, the network that it plays on. Each of those technology segments are interlinked. It's a technology change that isn't just one piece of the pie. So everyone's trying to keep the plants up and running, and they're working really hard, and there's a lot of really dedicated people on there. But the where are we today versus where do we need to be, and how do we manage the gap? That's the piece we see a lot of customers struggling with.
I think that's an interesting point, I guess, and I don't know if you have an opinion on, we talk a lot about, industry 4.0, industrial, the revolution and the move towards technology, which has been happening for a while. But I think kind of to your point, realistically, do you see, or do you still feel that we're as a nation, as a country here in the US, that we're still probably a little behind on the technology in that, or do you think we're catching up?
No, I think the US is on the forefront. I think manufacturing, maybe follows consumer. So if you're going to buy yourself a new vehicle, how many sensors are on that vehicle today? It wasn't the same 2 years ago, and it wasn't the same 2 years prior to that. I think the adoption of the IoT components and sensors in a number of these facilities is rising. I think we're accelerating. I think there's a large diversity between industry types, which are adopting some of the technology and some that are not. And then once you have the data, how are you sending it to where you're sending? There's a lot of movement in the US, and there's a lot of stuff getting done. But as with most technology hockey sticks, what we do today, maybe 10x next year and 10x the year after. It's exponential versus, arithmetic, I guess.
What sort of strategies do you and your team try to help your customers implement in terms of closing the skilled trade gap to be able to actually install, troubleshoot, repair, replace this high tech equipment that companies like Rockwell are putting out there? I mean, if you go into a lot of our manufacturers we work with are in rural places, locations, kind of like where you're at today. And, they don't have access to all these folks. They've got people in some cases that have technologies and skills that are outdated. What are strategies do you try to encourage your customers to embrace to close the gap?
Well, every customer is different, and every customer's got their own unique culture about how they manage through things. Our goal would be to help the customer have a plan. Modernizing isn't an option if we want to be the competitors of each of our customers. Are modernizing, they're changing, they're adopting both onshore and offshore competitors. So the starting point is where are we today? And so where are we today allows us to build a multi-step plan to get the customer where they need to be. So, but with that, you've got we need to keep the plant running today. What training, what additional skill sets, which pieces are we going to outsource, which pieces are we going to do on site? Those are all questions that the customers are answering daily. But the question on how to modernize overlaps those two questions. We've got to keep it going. We've got to maximize our productivity. But at the same time, we need to plug in it, and we need to figure out where's it going to be in 5 years' time. From a people aspect, I mean, the skill sets are going to be required. I mean, just look at what's happening in robotics and looking at having sensor technology and industrial Ethernet networking, or just industrial networking, I guess. Those are pretty big tasks, and you can't just tackle those one at a time.